to that fireplace design.
Oh,
He and Joe and I.
Yeah.
That's the kind of man he was. He's dead now.
Right. Omer Mithun.
Mithun is one of the biggest companies
Mithun.
now.
He was on the Bellevue Planning Commission from the early days. And I worked for King County Library in 49 and 50. And we had to go through every branch, every book to see how often it circulated. If it didn't move, you dumped it in a box and it went back to headquarters. And the system was only 8 years old, regional system. So get the county car and go to Skycomish. You spend all day in that. You know, we had 38 branches at the time. There are over 40 some now. And they have professional librarians. It was just local people that ran the libraries, and we were only 8 professional staff. There was the head librarian who wanted to know when she hired me, if I liked detail. She didn't know any children's librarians that liked detail. Hell, I didn't know if I liked detail or not. And then she had the second in command, and the secretary was interesting. She's the one that had connections with the union supporters on the waterfront, and that's a whole new world where we were trying to unionize.
Oh.
That followed me when oh hell, that's another story. Excuse my language. I didn't swear when I was working, but now I'm not. That whole bit of librarians and the image and all this, that's another whole topic. It's very interesting.
And so
Stereotypes.
you were talking about the house.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
My dad did, I'd come home from work, he'd stand there with his collapsible ruler. What do you want here? What do you want there? He had no plans, he just built it. Just stood there. I mean, everything fits all these years later.
So Mithun designed the structure.
Just the post and beam structure.
Okay.
It's earthquake resistant, it's Japanese, modeled after Japanese architecture. So they're just every room is 16 feet on center between these beams, which we had a crane, but these are big warehouse, glue-line beams, and they sit on 4x4s, which goes to the floor. Well, I need to take you downstairs tonight sometime, and you can see what it's like. So half of it's crawl space only, and the furnace flues go under it, so it keeps it warm, and the rest of it, Joe was laying the cement, but he never finished it with a skim coat. Joe laid the driveway on Memorial Day. It was hot, and I was up climbing Tiger Mountain instead of helping him. I could help him. He laid all the stone out here. We picked every damn rock over 4 years. It was hand-picked for having 3 mortar faces.
Okay.
From 3 miles above Hyack, that's Snoqualmie Pass, there's a rock slide right below the last microwave dish as you go over the pass. Miriam was the last one up there, and I don't know where the key is to unlock the gate. I haven't
really?
been there for 30 years. I was going to will her that property. It's undivided half interest, which is another mishmash, but anyway.
Yeah.
I pay taxes on undivided half, so that's clear. I'm not in contact with the family because there was the mother, the father died. He's the one that we got into this business, but she's a Republican, and well, anyway, I guess the son runs there. I don't know what kind of affair they have.
Did Mithun actually come here and talk to you, and when you were in the process of construction, or when you were thinking about it? Uh-huh.
Yeah, 2 o'clock in the morning. He'd sit there and just draw. He was still here at 2 o'clock in the morning. We knew that, it would sing. In other words, it was right. The offset and the heart. And that crazy insert is because the big damper warped and the cold air would go out. So it's sealed off with a stainless steel flue.
Mm. So you can't use it?
You can use the insert.
Oh, I
And
see.
it's a catalytic converter.
Oh, yeah. But maybe you could repeat about that, the angle of the soffits.
The house is a little cattywampus on the lot. It's not square. The declination of the sun at this latitude, the depths of the soffit, passive solar.
Yeah.
He was way ahead of his time.
Well, he was a professor of architecture at the U.
Mm-hmm.
We interviewed Paul Kirk, who did the faculty club at the U, and Paul Kirk had to have this courtyard with this tree in the middle. I mean, it was too didactic because we had our own ideas of what anyway.
But-
Then
But you had a very well-known landscape architect help you with it.
yeah. But back to the planning, I got a jag on Frank Lloyd Wright in high school, and watching my dad. They built bungalows, and I would just somehow it just sort of was interesting. And I had a boyfriend who was a student of Mies van der Rohe, who's one of the greats in architecture. He was of the Bauhaus School of German modern architecture. And that's another story. And I just studied plans, house plans, and I subscribed to a magazine called Arts and Architecture, which had a lot of contemporary stuff from Australia and European. Well, anyway, it just sort of fit with woodworking and something in the back of one's head, And so we spent 2 years planning it and 2 years building it. And after my dad retired, he drove 4 days a week from Edmonds. Mother packed his lunch. Those are Priscilla's painting,
Yeah. This one right here, my sister painted.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
But the raven on the wall by the fireplace,
That one.
that's Mungo Martin, who carved the pole that BC gave Elizabeth for the coronation. And I remember when in the 40s in the bike club, having my own balloon-tired bike, and we'd take the ferry overnight from Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd be there by the museum carving
And his name was?
Mungo, and M-U-N-G-H, I don't know if it's an H in it or just Martin.
Oh.
And I've seen his grave at Alert Bay.
Uh-huh.
And that's very special, has memories for me. Yeah, my neighbors are all in aviation, and they gave me that. They took that in 65.
65.
We moved into the house in December of 63, and that's the way it used to look.
Before the trees.
Well, Joe planted everything.
Yeah.
I don't know on the spoons. Those I took from my aunt's house when she had died. And this would be a custom that they would commemorate anniversaries or birthdays by giving them a spoon.
Oh, uh-huh.
But I have wooden spoons that my grandfather made down here.
Oh.
And I never saw any of my grandparents, so they're all,
Down there?
Yeah,
Your grandfather made those?
yeah.
Wow.
And he made this fishing
On
gear.
your mom's side, that is?
He made this fishing gear. My mother would have to row him out to go fishing after school. She had to go out, and she never had any childhood. She had to look after her smaller brother and sister.
Yeah.
That's a halibut hook and a mountain goat horn spoons, those other things that.
Now, is that flat rock that's got all those figures on it, it's got holes in it.
They have,
Is that a game?
well, I bought that from probably something in Alaska. I don't know where. I don't know. It's a reconstruction of a village.
Oh, I see.
And they're toothpicks that have broken off. You can see some of them propped up, but
Oh, I see. They propped up figures.
yeah.
Oh, uh-huh.
And the start of an igloo. And the good ivory I have stuck up in a closet, but I've got some nice stuff that we bought in Nome.
Yeah.
And these I bought off the Maasai. This big walrus tusk I got from Alice Johnson, whose brother was either a tugboat captain or a fishing captain. Carl Ek, E-K is oak in Swedish.
Oh, uh-huh.
And Joe and I met him. We were down one trip to California. He was standing there cooking a big pot of cereal. Jolly guy. Anyway, and I don't know, I also have an eagle feather. But my uncle made the little boxes with his own birch trees.
Isn't that something?
And this thing goes to the Nordic Museum. This is what they call a lure, L-U-R. And this is his birch bark. He made this. He would make them for people to auction off, organizations or something. You blow in this.
Yeah.
This is what they would blow for the cattle. See that wooden carving up on the wall?
Yeah.
This same man made this horse and gave to Mother in 1922.
Oh, that's a beautiful horse.
And he burned up in his studio.
Oh, no.
But every year, at a certain time of year, his son will hold really a jamboree. So people, folk dancers from 4 counties around would converge, and they have these people stand around and jam with these music groups all over. It's just
So wait, let's go back. So the person that made this,
that's my uncle, and he made these little boxes.
and did he also carve that?
No,
No,
that's another man.
that's the man who made that horse.
It gave my mother that's from her trip to Sweden in 1922.
Wow. When did she come over here?
1913,
Oh,
when she was 20 years old.
Had she already met your dad?
No, they met in Chicago in the Good Templar Lodge, the
Uh-huh.
Teetotalers Lodge. And he'd emigrated in 1910. And that's an interesting story because he was the only boy in the family, and they didn't want him to go down in the iron mines. So he worked on top of the mines. And
Your father?
yes.
Yeah.
And he was Secretary of the Union at the age of 19. And Karl Marx was 1848, but it was just a tremendous amount of workers' actions,
Yeah,
And,
foment, sort of.
Russia lost its big revolution in 1906, and they didn't succeed till 17. But in Sweden in 1906, there was some sort of action, and they lost that. And there was a general strike in 1909 or 10, and the workers lost, and they were shut out. And in fact, nobody employed anybody, and they were starving. And my dad's province is granite. It's 13 high-grade iron ore since 1300s. The Germans own it now, and they do process it some way. But so here he is, and the workers put together their meager funds, and I always end up crying about this. They bought tickets for the officers and say, "Go to America. There's no future for you here." So that's when my dad was on the ship, and I have some black and white photos somebody took, and he went to some relatives in South Chicago. They were on his mother's side, apparently, and he worked in Pullman in the stockyards. Pullman car, made railroad cars and did things, and then he took mechanical drawing classes at night, and apparently he had some schooling in that. Anyway, his teacher befriended him, he was good in school, and this teacher was a good Templar, and so I have a stick pin and newspapers from 1898 from the National Good Templar paper, Swedish paper, that I don't know what to do, and that's one thing I have on my agenda, to either check with the University of Washington, Scandinavian Department. I don't allow alcohol in the house for the reason to respect my dad.
Yeah.
So he immigrated in 1910. And he lived in the University of Chicago district, and there were so many volunteers in the First World War, so he was never drafted. So he ended up working for the shipyards in San Diego, where he had a friend that I met one, 1967. And then in Tokeland, there was a shipyard that this company, and so the Tokeland Hotel he had stayed in.
Yeah.
And then he was working in Winslow. They opened a yard in Winslow, so he was on 2nd Avenue at Armistice Day.
Oh my.
And he would never, out of stubbornness, he would never say Smith Tower. He would say Smith Tower. And he had a sister who'd emigrated and was a cook for Holtling, who became Commissioner of Immigration in Wilson's cabinet. They wanted her to go to D.C. with them. But she was married. She died in the flu in 1918, and she was pregnant, so I have no first cousins. Well, anyway, enough of that. Anyway, I took that lion picture, and 6 miles from the Congo border in Uganda.
Wow.
And the lionesses would climb up in the fig trees and cool off, but they'd also get a view of game. I have one with its teeth wide
You can
open.
see
I
the
gave my
glare.
dentist.
Do you
You
see
don't
what I'm
have to
talking
take a
about?
picture. And this goat is the coat of arms of my mother's province, you know, where she grew up. That's the Indian village on the Yukon River in Eagle. We were the first car to ever drive into Eagle. That was 1954. We were on this X-ray survey. That's another long story. And he did this. He didn't want to use oil paint because it didn't smear. But this is an actual cabin, Mentasta Mountains and Mentasta Joe's cabin on the Tanana River.